Meditation Matters podcast, brought to you by EcoWellCo, where we explore and use wellness practices to live well on purpose. Join us today as we feature Mouna, a writer and poet who has dedicated her work to exploring the tough inner questions of why am I here, what is my purpose, and more, and even ones that you may have even asked yourself. We'll learn how these very questions transform Mouna's life from the inside out and how your own exploration can do the same. Let's dive in. Okay, well, thank you so much, Mouna, for being on the Meditation Matters podcast. I'm excited to have you here. And so that the listeners know who you are, what you do, and really what brought you to the space of writing your poetry book and just your overall spiritual wellness journey, can you take a moment to introduce yourself to our listeners and just, who you are, what you do, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, so my name is Mouna Saquaque, and thank you so much for having me today. I am a writer. I write about philosophy, spirituality, and I also write poetry.
What got you into writing about philosophy, spirituality, and then poetry also?
So just questions coming to me, like existential questions that wouldn't leave me. Mm-hmm. And when I started this journey of answering them, it was actually a cool journey, and I enjoyed it. It was challenging, but also it was not an effort. It was more natural. I just wanted to know more about myself, about human nature, about what makes us human, about other worlds, about spirituality, subtle dimensions, the astral world, all these things. And so it was fascinating. I had to always ground myself back and just to function.
Yeah.
Until I found a balance between those queries in my everyday life.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And so I guess the way that you were able to process it was writing. Were you a writer before those questions came, or was it those questions, those existential and metaphysical questions came and you're like, I don't know what else to do other than write?
Yes, I think I enjoyed writing, like essays at school, everywhere. But I was not a writer. No, writing was my way, like a singer sings or a songwriter writes songs. So writing is my way to translate everything that I process in my mind.
That's wonderful. Do you remember the first existential question that came to you that kind of set you on this path? I know there's a lot, right?
Yes. Yes, it was. I think it was, is there a divine? Is there a spiritual world? And if yes, there is a creator of the universe or a spiritual world, why don't I have a manual? Like, why do I have to go through other people or to go through experiences or to just guess and not having any clue, any manual?
Yeah.
I felt angry a little bit. I was like, if you exist, I should know for sure that you exist. And then I was like, well, I calmed down. I was like, yeah, I know you exist. It's not you, it's me. I must not have the methodology to just open up and go into these worlds and find out more about myself and the world.
That's incredible. I like that. I think that that's something that I have definitely felt and heard before, also from other folks, just kind of like, why, God, why would you make it so hard? Like, where's the manual? Where's the instructions? Why is there so much
hard? and also I found out, like, right after this explosive moment, that the way we ask questions is very important to start any journey of understanding something. I changed my way of also putting questions.
Actually, can you dive a little bit deeper into the way that you ask questions, like the before and after, and even how that has transformed now as you've continued to progress? I think that would be something our listeners would be interested in.
So basically, it's the way you ask the question says a lot about your intentions. Are you really, honestly, authentically looking for answers, or are you just playing with your mind? And are you asking questions that comfort your mind, or are you asking questions just because you don't feel good that day, or do you really want valuable, relevant information. So I found out that the way that I was asking questions and the place where I was coming from, I would never move ahead. I had to change my methodology of looking at things and accepting that sometimes in order to have an answer, you have to go through like 10 other questions to be able to get to this answer. That's why it's not easy. You have to really want it and you have to be excited about it. And you have to be compassionate about your IQ. I mean, no, it's not a nice word, but if you come from a place of ignorance in a certain subject, then it's not your fault. You just don't know, and you have to be compassionate and know that you have to build and to gather tools to understand things like for mathematics. You don't go from nothing to algebra. You have to go through steps, and you have to be compassionate and patient enough, because it's worth it to just accept that every day you are going to know a little bit more, and that eventually you will have the bigger perspective and the bigger answer. So patience is a very big key, and patience is also accepting time. We hear a lot about instant manifestation, and I feel like sometimes it can be delusional for us. Like if time exists, it wants to manifest. You have to accept it. And the time you accept it, it goes faster. It plays with you. It becomes your friend. It becomes your friend, and you're not here trying to control it or trying to avoid time.
Of course. And then, of course, how long did it take you to come to that understanding of patience?
I'm still working on
it. Understandable, same.
Yeah. There are some subjects that are more easy for me to just accept the time. And there are others where I feel frustration and impatience. And in those times, I try to use simultaneous time. Like in this dead time, this gap, I try to work on something else or to do something else. I like to see it as a land where you've planted a place of carrots. And instead of just waiting for it you can do nothing about it. It has to blossom. And instead of just waiting for that, when are you going to show up? You go and you plant something else. And then you go and plant something else, and then you come back. You have the carrots. You have this. So I try to use this time doing something else, not to when it's hard for me to be patient.
Yeah, not to dwell too hard. I mean, that's smart. I mean, that's a great analogy, actually, the farming practices, and how no matter how fast the farmer may want to eat what he just sowed, like you gotta wait. You have to tend to it also. So it's the tending and the waiting, and then you bear the fruits of everything. And so that rotation, that makes a lot of sense. I love that. Oh gosh. Wow. Okay. So you have multiple books, right?
Yes.
Okay. And yeah. And I guess so the first book that you wrote, what exactly was that one about? And also the other question I want to insert in here too is your use of meditation and other wellness practices while you have been navigating these book writing processes, and also these questions and the patience and and everything else.
Yeah, because when the change and transformation occurs inside of you.
Yeah.
But the unfolding takes time.
Yeah.
It takes time. You watch yourself moving slowly towards direction. So in my first book, I was trying to answer questions like, who am I? Where am I? Where do I come from? Where am I going? What is universal moral? What am I supposed to do? For bees, we know their functions, but they don't know. Maybe they don't know their function, and maybe there is a higher being that sees our function and we don't see it, and things like that. So yeah, it was a cool introspective book. I've learned a lot about myself and about the nature of reality and peace of mind. And yes, meditation has helped me a lot. So I think that there are a lot of types of meditation. There is a meditation that's that you use to calm your mind because you're too much in your head and you're going nowhere with your thoughts and you just want to calm down. So I call it just stopping the mind, resting the mind, like a reset button. And then there are meditation when you want to stop the current of thought you're in, like you want to change it, your timeline, you want to change identity, you want to put a new paradigm. And then there is just meditation, sitting with presence, like being present. And so, yes, I love meditating. Sometimes I have to remember myself because when you're in a place where you're angry or you're anxious or you have a lot on your plate, sometimes it's not the right time to meditate. So you just have to calm yourself down and then go back to meditation.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point because even in my own experience, I've been meditating for a couple of years now, but there are times when it's just kind of like, I don't want to do this right now.
Yeah, I'd rather go running or dancing.
Yeah, like and that in that instance, you can even call that more of like I guess a full body or like active meditation if you want, because it's like shifting. It's like shifting your moving when you're moving your body to get the energy flowing, and then like you're in a different environment. So it's like, okay, now we're activating different like energy systems in our body, different hormones, different everything. So it's like another way to kind of like shift our mind instead of being super stuck on like the fact that we're angry right now or something. But yeah, that's definitely, I would say meditation is definitely transformative, but it is one of those things where you, like you said earlier, like being compassionate and understanding of yourself and like being like, okay, maybe I don't want to just sit down and like think about my angry feelings. Maybe I want to go like run or do a dance class or go to a boxing class or something. So I think that's a really good point that you make. Yeah,
there is a time where you have enough energy to sit with uncomfortable feelings and to look at them and to understand what's behind them. And there's time where it's too much. I just want to feel good and then let's see what happens.
Definitely. And of course, it's important to just like, because I know sometimes we can get caught up in like the routine of like, no, I should sit and meditate no matter what. It should look the same every single time. And your example really proves that it doesn't have to look the same every single time. And it's really just listening to the body, to the mind, like listening to yourself and allowing yourself to go in the direction that is best for you in that moment. Because it may change moment to moment, but it's like, how are you honoring yourself in this space of like confusion or whatever it is? And so centering yourself in that. So I think that's really incredible. Thank you for mentioning that.
Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. So you also have your new book here, your poetry book, that it's also really exciting. And I know that it's really centered around, when I was reading the description about it, I felt very much so about just like self-awareness and expression and compassion and even more of that. And so the first question I want to ask you is like, of course, this journey that you've been talking about this whole time, this introspective journey, leads you to become aware of yourself. But at the same time, at least in my story, I know that sometimes I can get really caught up in the introspection where I kind of lose versions of self-awareness. So that's also tending to the self in other ways, even in a metaphysical and etheric space. So how has your journey with self-awareness transformed as you've embarked on the self-inquiry and the self-discovery, self-understanding, and like highs and lows of your spiritual journey?
So I use poetry. I mean, I felt drawn to just I didn't call it poetry in the beginning. I just felt drawn to write something that I thought was beautiful and that would remind me or take me to the source of love. So we experience love, all kinds of love, family love, romantic love, friends love, you name it, or love for a job, for a situation, for belongings. And sometimes we lose those things. People die, we get separated, and other times there is too much attachment, and I don't feel love if this person is not here. I don't feel love if I don't have this. I don't feel love if. So I was like, I'm tired of this. I want to go to the source of love. I want to be loved, and I want to feel love without any object. I want to go to the frequency of pure love. And from there, I mean, from there, when you come back and you love others and you feel loved by others, it's lighter, because you feel that you're already tuned to pure love, you know, to the divine love, where it's unconditional, and it's not, oh, you're treating me bad, you should not be loving me this way. I expect you to love me another way. So it's just like free flowing and everything. And I really felt so good in just thinking in this love and coming back like recharged, fresh, healed. You already have the love that you want, and I don't like the word deserve, but you came with the love package. You are able of love, and you are loved, and then you express.
I think that's really important to remember, especially because it's really easy to get caught up in the desire of wanting others to fill that love cup, right? But then, like you said before, and I also had a similar experience, once you begin to realize that, wait, okay, when I came into this world, I was already filled with all the purest love ever. And I started to live, I started to grow, and it began to like seep out of me in a way, right? And of course, this kind of also depends on your environment and your upbringing of how much you know or remember or reminded to that the love comes from within first. But it is quite a journey when you're coming back to that understanding of, wait, I'm already an internal, endless wellspring of love. And I can actually tap into that. Now, when you start to do that, it's like, how do I do that? Like, this is super confusing. And I guess in this instance, my question would be, when you began to realize that you were tired of trying to get all that external love, or, you know, always value your love based on these external conditions, I mean, how was the journey back to your internal love source? Was it difficult? Was it blissful? Was it a combination of things?
Yeah, it was a relief from like, sometimes there is strategies in love, and there is it's very conditional. Sometimes it's even transactional.
Of course.
Even if it's subtle, and you don't like yourself, you're like that. You know, I mean, for my part, you don't like. There is a point where I think I got really tired of this, and I just want to and with people, if you think about it, the opposite of love is hate. So sometimes, so you feel like you love everything and everyone, and it's oneness. And obviously there is different types of love. There is intimate love, but you love everyone, but you can't be with everyone at the same time. So you express it in a certain way where it's you understand you understand the relationship, and you don't feel triggered. There is no, that's what I want to say. There is no salvation in this love. It's not, I am going to stop needing love because you give me this.
Right.
Sometimes I feel like we seek salvation through love and validation and approval. And then you come in like with an open space, and it's very, very different. Because you know that you get hurt, but it doesn't last much, like 3 hours, 1 day, because you can automatically come back to the source of love, and you're like, oh, it's not about them, it's me. I'm acting like this again. I'm needy, I'm attached, or I have expectations that other people can't give me, and maybe I am acting like that and I am not aware of it. So you just reset yourself and come back, and everything gets normal again.
Yeah, definitely. I really like the word that you use, the salvation word. That really, like, you said it and I was like, oh wow. That's definitely, it's a good way to really sum it up, because I think that's the case. And even and what I was thinking about too in the salvation piece was the worthiness bit of love, right? So trying to prove that you can love in order to feel like you're worthy of love, right? So maybe you're excessively overcompensating yourself in some way for somebody and some condition that maybe is actually harming you, because you're trying to fill this void of like, no, 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 I'm capable of love. I can give love. I can receive love. It's like you're trying to prove that to yourself or others that you can really do this. And still, that is another form of seeking external love conditions to be your savior and whatever it is you're dealing with. So it comes in so many different forms, like you mentioned. And I just, that word salvation, I just want that to like simmer for a second.
Yeah, it gets you aware of things that triggers you, and
yeah, definitely. So I guess in your journey of realizing and coming back to this internal love spring as well, and you're saying that I felt like a relief. And another thing too is like I know I saw a bit of peace being mentioned around in the descriptions. How would you define peace? And would you equate this feeling of relief that you found when you began to return to the internal love spring as peace? Or is it a grander culmination of things for you?
Yeah, so I was thinking about it this morning of, people, and even I use sometimes this word of fulfilled, happy life.
Yeah.
And it can be challenging to understand what is it, and sometimes I feel like I have a fulfilled life. And what I mean is, it's not checking boxes of I am the best swimmer on earth, I am this, I am that, I have bought this, I am with this person. It's not really that. It's just like knowing your survival 3D physical needs and meeting them, like shelter, food, everything. This is, you take it from the weight. It's not going to change until the end of time. You will have to eat. So you're okay with it. You're not complaining about it anymore. Then you figure out the things that are important to you. And I say what you really want. And when I say what you really want, I mean the thing that the thing which, when it's lacking, you feel bad. And normally in our lives, it's 2 or 3 things. I don't know, maybe your relationship with your kids or parents, running 5 miles a day or 1 mile a day. That's not me. But anyway, praying or meditating every day, feeding 10 people a month. I don't know what it is for you that really makes you having a meaningful life. There are things that really you can do them in the morning and then you're done. I've done everything that is important for me on earth. And it's very different. We think that it's the same, and that's the problem. And it's very different from a person to another. So, and the third level would be just to understand that a lot of things are happening outside of your control, and it's called life. It has nothing to do with you. It's not personal. It's not because I am Mouna that my dad died. No, people die. People, there is a pandemic. It has nothing to do with, like, there is a point where you have to be mature enough to see that life unfolds and that sometimes it's challenging and that it has nothing to do with you. And you just accept it and you calm down and you do what you can to just go through this phase, and then life becomes nice again. So that's what I call peace of mind. Building a certain emotional stability, trying to have a life of dignity, like meeting your basic needs. And also accepting life's challenges and taking them as challenge. Maybe it can make you grow if it's interesting to you. It doesn't have to be interesting. What's interesting to me might not be interesting.
I guess, what would you, if someone is like, okay, I have the emotional stability and I get that sometimes life happens and I can't really control all that stuff, but when it comes to the challenge, perhaps they're a bit nervous, anxious, afraid that they will either fail the challenge or whatever it is, what would be your advice to someone who is nervous about the challenges of life, but maybe has a slight understanding that they may need to go on these, they may need to embark on these challenges? Like, I guess, how would you recommend that they navigate through these emotions and feelings when it comes to life challenges?
I think that when we get older, we become less and less patient with ourselves, and again with time. So what took you 18, it took you 18 years to be able to speak, write, calculate, and you want that it takes you 1 month to be the best at something. It's impossible. You have to have the same attitude that you had when you were younger, and come and try to go step by step and be calm about it. And if it's too challenging and it puts a lot of anxiety on you, like, I don't want to give bad advices to people, but maybe you should step back a little bit until you calm down, or maybe it's not for you, or maybe there is something that you are good at and natural at and easy, something that's easy for you, very natural, and maybe you can go on this road. Sometimes we just force ourselves. And why? Sometimes it's just because we have, in our visions, we have backdrop people looking at us, what she or he is going to do. Is he going to fail? Is she going to fail? And so we suffer, we put ourselves through suffering just to have validation from those people who maybe don't even think about us.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. I really liked your point, especially about taking a step back, especially when you're finding yourself either too anxious or too nervous about taking on the challenge, because maybe, I guess the first thing that popped in my mind is like, is that challenge necessarily for me?
Yeah.
And
maybe it's not the right time.
Or is maybe not the right time to embark on the challenge. Because I know I've gone through challenges myself, and there are moments where it's like, this feels extremely hard to navigate this challenge. Like, is this not like the right challenge? Like, am I embarking on this in the wrong time? Why
am I doing this?
Exactly. Like, am I doing something wrong? Like, what's going on? Right. And then there's other times when challenges occur and then just seem to kind of soar through it. And there's not a lot of resistance. There's not a lot of doubt. There's not a question. It's like the acknowledgement of like, okay, this is difficult, but it's fine. Like, I'm navigating through it.
I understand it's difficult, and it's normal that it's difficult. And I like that it's difficult. I learn things from it.
Yeah. I think that type of self-reflection and overall self-awareness, and also situational awareness too, because like a couple of different types of awareness there, is really helpful in that journey of like understanding like either your next trajectory or like yourself or whatever it is that the challenge may be presenting. Yeah, I think that's a really good point, because I mean, how often do we remind ourselves to just, take a step back, take a deep breath, especially if we're not aware of this, if this is something that's not a part of our like routine or of our life, to like take a moment to rest and reflect. Like, if we're looking to society to tell us to calm down and take a moment to relax and not force the door
Never
open.
gonna happen.
Exactly.
Yeah,
so
it helped me a lot, actually. And sometimes I'm like, when it's too much, I'm like, I'm fine. If it never happens, I'm fine. If I don't do it, and I'm not gonna force myself into this. Maybe I don't have enough skills. I don't know. It's too much for me. People are way ahead of me.
Or maybe I need help too. Yeah. Like, asking for help in those instances could be another good thing. I don't know.
Yeah. And so sometimes a year after you have gathered some knowledge, information, you feel it's easier, then you can do it. If it's still a desire of yours.
Sure. Oh, that makes a lot of sense. I think that's really good.
I do this a lot. I'm like, I'm over it. If it's for me, it's gonna come back when I'm ready for it.
Yeah.
So if it happens to come back, I'm like, now I'm ready. I can do it. If it doesn't, then it wasn't for me. I just have one life. I'm not going to be killing myself, suffering, doing something. Just, I don't know. So that doesn't make me happy.
Yeah. Just because maybe you think it's the right way, or you were told it's the right way, or somewhere a long time ago someone told you that that's the right way, and so now you convinced yourself that that is the right way, and so you're like, oh, I told myself that's the right way, and it's like, did I actually tell myself that's the right way? And that's been a part of my journey too. It's going back into the mental programming, even on the subconscious and the superconscious levels, and just really trying to navigate and be like, is this really what I want? Is this like really what was for my path? Or is this something that like I've just all the data from all the years of growing up in the environment that I grew up in, like still super grateful for everything I've experienced, but at the same time, there's certain moments when certain levels of programming are just literally not for your path. That's it. Like,
yeah.
and like all the emotions of trying to fit into that box of what that programming wants you to do, whoever told you it. It's like eventually, like I went to a talk last night and here in Medellin, and it just so happens that the speaker is from the same city as me, went to the same school, and had the same type of experience where he was trying to fit himself into that box that like our city really tries to like get people to fit into. And his example was like, he was trying to fit so much, eventually it squeezed him and he just popped. And then he was just like, you know what, I'm going to be a nomad. Forget this. And it was funny because that was my same experience. I just like popped. And I was like, I can't do this.
breathe enough.
Yeah. And so I was like, I'm leaving. I can't, I can't. I know that there's another way to do this because I'm trying to fit and literally I'm not fitting. So I think that that's an incredible thing to do, is just really reflect, is this really my box? Like asking yourself these questions, is this really what I want to be telling myself? And even you mentioned before, like the type of meditations where you can do like the paradigm shifting, timeline shifting, and just like identity recreation. I mean, that's like that tapping into the programming and figuring out where you want to go next. That's a part of that whole.
Or discover things that you put aside for a long time that really interests you.
Definitely. Well, I want to ask if you could share the name of your new book that's coming out, and also share with listeners where they can find it at, and also where they can follow you to kind of stay up to date on like any new drops, any new updates about your book, and just other ways that they can keep in touch with you. Of course, all of that will be available in the description and the recap for this episode, but it's always be nice to just hear it while we're here.
Thank you. So it's my poetry book is called Back to Love and Beauty. It's a collection of 16 books, illustrations, paintings. I want it to be beautiful with the paintings. And yes, you can find me. I have a website, mounasaquaque.com. And I started Instagram.
Awesome. Did you do all the illustrations yourself for the book, or did you have them commissioned?
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing.
It's paintings. Yeah.
Oh, that's so cool. Wow. Incredible.
Yeah.
That'll be super incredible to read and to share. And I hope that everyone listening will also find Mouna's book just refreshing, and that reminder of like compassion and awareness of the self, and
allowing yourself to feel, to go through emotions and to feel and to solve them and to go to the end of the tunnel.
Yeah. You don't have to stay in the dark part of the tunnel. There's always going to be like that little tiny light, even if it's kind of like a little firefly.
and dark does not mean evil. It just means that you haven't discovered it yet.
Yes. Yeah. And sometimes making your path through the darkness is another part of it too. And then before you know it, maybe you look down, you're like, oh, there's like a little, really? That seems nice. Great. I'm gonna go over there. And that's the really fun part about this self-awareness, self-discovery, spiritual wellness journey that we're honestly all on in different ways, different capacities, and that's totally fine. But I really love how you've decided to take your journey and to put it into written form and to share it with others, and to paint, and then also show us your paintings and how like your poetry made you feel in that space as well. It's really incredible. I really look forward to reading it, and also continue to follow your journey as you continue to grow.
Thank you so much, Naya. Thank you.
Thank you so much for joining us here. And as always, if you ever want to come back, we'd be more than happy to have you on.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. It's been such a beautiful pleasure to take the time to just like talk about these beautiful topics that sometimes are super hard to talk about, but I realize that the more of us continue to talk about them and share our perspective and our journey with them, the easier and the more, and I guess the safer, even the less alone we feel in this space of navigating, like your beginning comment of like, what's even going on? Why isn't there a manual?
And like becoming the beautiful humans we were supposed to be.
Yes. Thank you so much, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
All right, bye.
Bye.